Hola. Hey, Patrick. Hey, everybody. I already did a sound test, so I know you can hear me. I see people filing in. I guess Barry's going to get a new computer, but I had to fire up my own room here today. No matter where you came from, happy Thursday. Hello. All right. As usual, this is the Thursday edition of the Trade Ideas Live support session. If you're one of the 20 or so, 18 people watching now, and you were sent here by the support team for an item that you need help with, this is your chance. I know TMC is killing me. What today? Thursday, right? Where's my? I thought I just launched that. There we go. Oh no. It's doing that thing again. I think Pepe showed me to do this. Oh no, there it is. Never mind. Never you mind. There's my. So TMC was the trade of the week. That's what we're talking about it. And it was looking really nice and sweet right here. It's supposed to come up and out of that area, but it's really coming back and double tapping and testing our patience 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. I'm in it. I don't like what it's doing here, but here's the lesson that I'm always talking about. So it's a real-time trade for me. Where's my guardrails? Well, we're well below. It held yesterday. It held the 5-day perfectly. Lovely. Got ahead of itself, came back, held the 10 SMA. Oh, perfect. And then this is why I use that reasoning, you guys. Once you see that first red candle that breaks the 10 SMA, your momentum has died. It's just a matter of how long has the momentum died. If it's a strong stock, this candle could have reversed and boom, it could have been off here. But no, if it was wanting to be stronger, this candle could have followed through. But no, overnight it gapped down. Now, I will give you the fact that the GDX, the mining index, is a bit overbought. So, but it's trying to bounce. How much TMC fits into that sector, who knows? But getting to where we are now, my guardrails, right? So broke through main support. Don't like to see that. What I don't want to see is the price get held by this declining 10 SMA and go back to lows. This is about as much as I really want to give it back here. So you can see I've got a blue line triggered. I don't want to see that blue line trigger. I also don't like exiting these trades midday because I've seen too often as a swing trader, I turn around midday, I get, spooked out of something. I'm in a bad mood at the moment. Something's bothering me, which is really the trigger. And I just got get rid of it. It's one less thing I have to worry about. Only to see at the end of the day one big giant tail, one big wick, and boy, do you feel stupid. So I'm tired of that feeling. So I try to really give as much midday wiggle as I can on these swing trades, just to see how far they're trying to shake the tree. I mean, we're not going to be basing our daily candles on midday. We're going to be basing our daily charts at the end of the day. How do they close? And that's why I parse and go through my P&L positions by the end of the day, 10 minutes in. So that brings me to a point. I'm not doing a whole lot, you guys. I don't like this market. I don't like the way some of these things are trading. Look at how Palantir traded the other day. Zing, zang, zong. It's like, let's just flick the rubber band on everybody, shall we? Look the way SMR traded the other day. Boing, 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 boing. You know, this is the kind of stuff I don't like. It's just weird. I'm not going to speculate as to why, but somebody's really enjoying selling these giant move up. Are they the same person? I don't know. But, you know, the NNE, all these stocks that were doing great beginning of the year earlier, they're just having a tough time struggling now. I have even given up on my small cap, you know, drones and robots. Yeah, look at that. That's a dripping red candle below main support. I don't want any part of that. Red Rover, RR, okay, maybe, but for the moment, look at this intraday. It's the sellers just have this thing pinned, just tapping it out. That's what I don't want to see in the TMC, the metals company. I'm with you, Justin. Yep. So I assume what you're saying is maybe you got your foot off the gas like me. I'm not doing a whole lot. This is one trade I'm in. I don't like it. I don't know if Barry's listening, but the other day he put that MOBX on my radar and it got me. And so this thing owes me. So here's a perfect example. All right. So I had this in my ticker. I'd put it in. Oops. No, I hate when I do that. I don't want to reset that. I had put MOBX in my ticker. There it is right there. And I pulled it up today. I just looked at it again after not looking at it for a few days. Boy, look at that big pullback. This is what interests me as a swing trader. And a lot of times you guys will see Holly or the AI, all of a sudden, boom, there's a big, giant level of interest and volume that comes rushing in. And that lasts for a few days. Do not be the person that's buying breakouts of a small cap after it broke out after 3 days of wasting all its energy just to get there and then die. But once they fall back pretty swiftly and then find, here's the intraday picture right here is what I'm getting at. So I talked a lot about planting the flag above the 5-day. So here's a strong stock that pulled back. Can it regain its mojo? Well, this is where it's going to tell me right here. Regained the 5-day, pulled back and tested it. And then we had this pinch play come up. I'm long right here. I think Andy even has some too. 115. I've got some MOBX, Barry, but I bought it on my terms this time, as opposed to just kind of jump into it on the day it was moving. So this is more of the first wave is out of the way. Pullback is the coast clear. We'll see for the moment. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I have some of that. Oh, you got some comments. Let me see. Yeah, shame on UAVS. Dan was a big fan of that one too. Yeah, I will rip the Band-Aid off a lot quicker than some of the other people, Dan included. I love the stories, but boy, I'm really good at being early on the story, and then I get out too early. I need to wait for the chart to tell me what to do, which is exactly what this Mobex is telling me what to do. Oh, what did I also did a little bit of bottom fishing and a couple of things. I think I got some CRNC. Yeah. And that's it. Brian Shannon put this one on my radar. Okay, so here's another perfect example of what I was just talking about. I waited for the signal candle to make the entry. You know, just like we were looking at a stock earlier, and it made, I think it might have been SMR. Wasn't, but once these stocks that you're long, they break this 10 SMA with a red candle and close below, you use that as your exit. Well, I did the opposite in CRNC. It's a stock I've been watching. It's similar to Sound, which is also trading in an insane fashion. Audible AI. So just bottom picking a couple things here, 1/3 size. And again, the key for me is here's a stock I like. Do I want to take a chance down here for just maybe an intraday bounce? Let me qualify this. I'm not looking for swing trades to hold for days here, guys. I'm looking for intraday bounces to day trade. So I'll probably cash out of these things if they work for me by the end of the day, or at least most of them. All right, back to the comments. Yeah, shame on UAVS. 99% cash. I don't like the market either. Yep, September, worst performing month. In the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, everybody knows that. And when everybody's talking about the same thing, the market has a funny way of doing the opposite. But I'm with you. And I don't like September either. So I'm very cautious. We're extremely overbought. Extremely overbought. As hard as it is to, try and short this market, I wouldn't do it. But we're still tangled here in the S&P and the NASDAQ. I know the NASDAQ S&P is breaking above. Look at this example of my 5-day moving average, everybody. Boom, resistance, pull back, release the arrow, break through, come back, test it, and it's pivot. This is about as clean as a 5-day moving average can get. This is why I use it. Now, if you're new to my little session here and you've got trade ideas, you want to maybe you're looking for a chart style to use, I'm happy to give it to you. So I'm going to save and share my 15-minute bread and butter. I'll use it for day trading. I'll use it for swing trading. I got to sign into another account. Hold on a second. Switch accounts. All right, now I'm an admin. Okay, so there's my cloud that I was just discussing for my chart. Let's see, let me keep back up. Have not done anything in days. Justin, that is so smart. You obviously see a reason not to. And you've got junkies who probably shouldn't be trading the market. They're just degenerates because they like the action. Dave Portnoy comes to mind, somebody like that. But you obviously are keen and you don't see the pitch that you're waiting for. And like Jesse Livermore once said, some of the best money he's ever made was by sitting. You know, dollar saved is a dollar made, dollar kept from your drawdown. Only play this week was able to grab some hood under 99. Hood. Oh yeah, nice play there. You got a great fake out under the 50-day. You got both the round number and the 50-day shakeout. That's enough of a wick to like keep me interested. You know, and that's pretty much what the market did in general. The market tried to break S&P, NASDAQ I'm speaking of. So a good 2 or 3 day trade. Let's fast forward here on hood to the intraday. First attempt at the 5-day. God, look how far back this goes. This is great. Support broke the 5-day back here. Okay. Bam, gone, double down, double gap day. And then first attempt at the 5-day was thwarted. But as oftentimes, this is what happens. You can't, let me just say, you can't expect a downtrending 5-day blue line here. You can't expect the stock to just blast through it unless there's a news catalyst. It's probably going to get hung up. And this did textbook pullback, textbook higher low. Second mouse gets the cheese, maybe. So if you're still in that hood trade, this thing could be looking for a nice intraday reversal here for you using my guardrails. So yeah, swing trading is garbage right now in this market. So that is why I mentioned earlier, I'm not looking in anything that I'm currently in. I see Mobex maybe creeping up. I'm just looking for a day trade and maybe I'll see what I can get. But I've already defined my risk. All right, Justin, we'll talk to you, then we'll get the next one for sound and Reddit. All right, so let's look at PMI. Has good news around it concerning heart transplant. So PMI is a medical device, brand new trader. I don't know if this is IPO. I think it must be. So these are tough to trade. However, it is starting to give a bit of semblance for me. It's showing me nothing over here. I can't discern anything from that chart. What I can do is I can say, okay, the $5 level has held a double test of support. This is whatever level this is another level of support. So if we want to zoom in now, it's on the move. 520 was support, pushed higher, sideways, perfect. This is why I use this second indicator. We don't even have a 5-day indicator yet because we only have 4 days. You see that? So all we have to work with here on the 15 is my momentum indicator. And for the moment, it's showing a hint of momentum. So it's blasted off sideways, sideways. As soon as the algorithms sense the 10 SMA is touching, the buyers step it back up. That's exactly what you want to see. So that's all I have to really go on for that one. All right. Abhishek Darga Sound. I think I showed that one earlier. This one's been really goofy. And I say goofy because it was so suppressed and oversold down here. Here's a great example of Andy reminds me sometimes it's too early. It's too early. It's too early. It wants to touch the 50. Hey, it touched the 50. All of a sudden, magically, the algos flip and release. And so you got this incredibly, like a balloon underwater released. And so for the moment, we're working off that initial bounce, but a really nice hold there. It's getting a little jiggy here, but as long as this upward turning 5 SMA holds, it should be good. What else did you have? Reddit. 18% short. I'd be scared to be short this thing. Looks pretty decent for the moment. It has to hold this little pullback. This is the hardest part about trading, guys. You buy this pullback, you ride all of this, you watch your P&L go, but you're like, I really want to stay in this and see if it can test this. But to get to here, you have to pull back first for health reasons before you can test. And this is the hardest part, is trying to sit through this stuff. So whatever you can do as a swing trader to occupy your mind of the needed pullbacks on these 15-minute candles, do so. But then you need to pay attention again. We're in play, all right? We're watching Reddit. Reddit needs to keep its candles closing above this 10 SMA, and that tells me that the momentum is in play and it's holding. You had one more, didn't you? No, you had two more, Tesla and HIMS. I was in Tesla yesterday. Can you guess when I got out of Tesla yesterday? Anybody care to take a guess when I got out of Tesla yesterday? 3, 2, 1. If you guessed here, you would be correct. I gave it all the time in the world for these two moving averages to hold the price, but the minute it gave up and closed below the 5-day and the 10 SMA, look how much pain and sacrifice I saved myself. That's my rule. Took what I could. I took what I could. Let's see. I'm catching up here. So one more was HIMS, and then we'll move along. A really nice 2-day move. Be careful once you get a 2-day move. Sometimes people start to take profits. So as long as it holds that intraday, you've definitely got a lid at 50. But as long as it holds that 46.60, you're good. Amazon, can she make new intraday highs? Let's see, Mike. Possibly. Gap and hold the 10 SMA is a good start. Really good start. Nice gap and hold. Nice breakout of the wedge on the daily. So far, so good on Amazon. I'm sure Andy likes that one. Catching up here. All right, Mighty Mouse. If someone in the mob kidnapped you and forced you to only short stocks, what would you be? What would your shorting strategy to make a lot of money? I'd be looking for stocks like MicroStrategy. One, because I can't stand Michael Saylor, and I'm cheering for the stock to go down. But what I'm waiting for is a look like this. It broke the 200, and I can't get back. Oh no. I call it the armpit. It's now under the armpit of the 10 SMA. And if it tries to bounce at all, it's going to be under the armpit of the 200 SMA. What I do not want to try and short is something that went parabolic. I want to try and short something that's technically breaking down and that I also have a reason. Hey, there's a good reason. And now, hopefully, I would have been short this stock or a stock that looks like this for the last 5 days. Point being, this is not an entry. Why is this not an entry? Because you've already broken below this low back here. And look at intraday, it's already breaking its momentum. So this could actually be a quick bounce in MicroStrategy. I don't feel like playing it, but it could be a quick bounce. But you asked me about swing trading with a gun to my head. I'm going to look for stocks that are bouncing up into the armpit. And when you do that, you give yourself a much better entry. When you look at this, what I was getting at is it's like chasing the herd to the upside. Oh my God, it just broke. I feel safe. It looks like it's safe to short it now. Well, everybody else disagrees that programs, the algos, and other professional money runners, they're going to try and bounce those people out. So you sit and you lay in wait. And what I could do and what I'm going to do just for fun is I'm going to like look for a pivot level here. I'm that low and this high. I'm going to eyeball it and try and get ahead of this declining 5-day SMA. And so what I'm doing, to answer your question, I just gave myself a future shorting opportunity. This is amateur hour, establishing a new short right here because it broke down. That's amateur hour. Let this thing bump. That's why they say buy the dip and sell the rip. In a down bear market, you sell the rips. So we got to wait for it to come up here and bounce into the armpit, into the pocket. It's a good way to put that question. Hopefully my freedom has been regained after a couple of those trades. All right, perfect. I love this question. Can you explain again for us how Citadel and other market makers in the first 20 minutes reaching down and grabbing stops? Let's see. If you have any examples of a stock, by all means, let's see if we can. I want to find one. So I'll search as I speak. I can multitask. So we all have free commissions, right? Yeah. Well, you might think they're free. It's kind of like the internet. You think things are free until you find out you're the chum. You are you're the revenue. What you're doing is creating a data flow, and that data flow is so valuable. And in the case of stock trading and market movement and market making, Citadel has just become the de facto Citadel, ivory tower, the giant overlord of all market orders, limits, markets, and especially good till canceled, market stop, get me out. So imagine you're with Schwab or E-Trade and you're excited that you get to trade for no commissions. But, before the market opens in the early morning hours, Schwab and all, they're uploading your good till cancel market orders that you came home from last night and you bought like a complete amateur. You bought ONDS up here at 6. You waited for it to create all these green candles, so you felt safe. So like the complete amateur that you are, you jumped in here. And now you can't take it anymore. You've sat through 3 days of mess, and you're looking at this red line right there, yesterday's close, which is right here at $5. And you say, I can't take it anymore. I have to go to my job tomorrow, damn it. But here, Schwab, guard my order. I have a good till cancel order to sell market at $4.90. So if it breaks below there, I want out, right? This is just the mentality of how everybody thinks. And this is how these type of firms are predatory on both sides. The broker's selling you out, and Citadel gets to see where all the bowling pins are lined up. And believe you me, there it is. Thank you, Pepe. If it's free, you're the product. Believe you me, their algorithms can quickly quantify where the bowling pins are, how many there are, and at what price average they need to knock those pins down where they can make a profit on the reversal. That's all they care about. They don't care about making markets. And so there it is. There is the open candle on ONDS today. It went up there, it went down. It was just all over the place. And this is why we try to avoid the first 15 minutes, because this is where all the gaps from the overnight have to be sorted out, and let the computers sort that out. But I guarantee you, as people are watching ONDS hold 5 and trend back higher, there's somebody sitting at their miserable job right now just hating the fact that they gave Schwab a good till cancel market order, get me out at 490. That's why I don't do that. And that's what's going on. Hope that makes sense. 3 sharp. So they sell to well, they just always know where the liquidity is. Some people call it a liquidity hunt. And so they just know that if they can get the price down to here, there's going to be a lot of transactions that are occur. And they know that by doing so, by running those stops, their algorithms and their history and their data tells them every single time it'll work out in the end. Just run the stops, buy it back lower. Or however they do it. I don't pretend to know their algorithms, but I know that the end result and the process and things like that. So hopefully that helped. I want to sell organs. Oh God. Do you want to see a combo of moving averages that are closer in proxy? Well, that makes it makes for what we call the pinch play. And so I use these 2 moving averages a lot for pinch. Let's see if we can find some examples in the stuff I'm in. Actually, Tesla was, okay, so perfect example of the pinch. This is what I'm in. So I actually use this to enter. So as I mentioned earlier, Barry put this symbol on my screen last week, popped up on my screen. I looked at it and I said, wow, this has been a great pullback and this stock is in play. I still have it on there for a reason. I don't want to lose track of it, but I like to see them after they've bounced back and then they start to show, like Brian says, don't buy the dip, buy the strength after the dip. Well, how do you know where to buy the strength after the dip? Well, this is, to me, where the strength after the dip is. The price breaks back above the 5-day. And then even better, if it comes back and tests it, digs its, plants a spike and then starts to move off of that. So that was good. And so I took the entry at 115. I'm along this stock. But even more so, look at how, here's the pinch zone right here. The price is in between the fast line and the slower 5-day. And so it becomes very interesting to me, to answer your question, when the moving averages get together, whichever way they resolve is likely going to be, the likely direction. And that's okay if it comes back and tests. If it does that, even better. It's like you've got another nail in the foundation. It holds it even stronger. That which doesn't kill it makes it even stronger. And so look at these intraday wicks, and people seem to buy every time it pulls back. So we got nice little candles on the 15 periods. I'm good with that. All right. SMR. Yeah, this one I mentioned earlier. I put this in the camp of this is real crazy trading right now. I don't know what's going on. You had a wild move for a day and a half. Just like I mentioned, sometimes these moves last a day and a half, and then it pulled back. Now it might even be a day trade here. I'm not going to do it, but I could make a great case for it. But why am I not going to do it? Because I don't like this. What is that? That's just all of a sudden, it's like it got tased and it's just spazzing out. And sometimes that makes it harder to predict. But I'd say there's a decent chance it could hold these daily moving averages right here. Another couple of green candles on the 15-minute, and that could be an interesting entry. For how long? I don't know. But I was telling Andy this morning, I'm not buying this type of stuff here. I'm looking for names that I like, but only when they pull back to this 5-day moving average, because the market is so back and forth and so nutty. It's so hard to swing trade it that if you are going to try and hold for longer than an hour, you better make darn sure that your entries are pretty precise. I'm tempted to do the SMR, but I'm not. They just, let me look at the others. NNE is under pressure. Oklo did the same thing the other day, just blasted off for no reason. And it's almost like it's doing that so some seller could use it to sell into. Like I was mentioning earlier, if the mob cornered me, how are you going to short sell? You sell the rips. You wait for a stock that you want to get short, but you do not short new lows. You wait for a big bounce to fade, and maybe you sell half, short sell half, and then short sell another half and average into it. Probably sell the news bull. We'll take a look at that in a second. We'll look at AFRM first, then we'll look at bull AFRM. So I like that pattern. and you've got earnings. That's why we keep that yellow stripe in there, which is very important to me to know that this gapped up on earnings. And I call this, the horseshoe. Everybody took their short-term profits that was already long, but this is a solid base right there. When it turns and starts to go, well, it probably was the buy after it did a bar reversal, right about there. That was probably the buy today. And so now it's holding, and it's holding again, and it likely, could slowly move its way back to 100. But when they get ahead of themselves like this, step back and just let them really sell it off and almost close the gap as much as possible before you even think about taking an entry. All right, let's look at bull. Yeah, so buy the rumor, sell the news. For whatever reason, the drone stocks, UAVS, and some of those others, they showed so much promise here. You start to think, all right, here we go, right? Here we go. And then this is the hardest part. When you're so sold on the story, but this chart is glaring. It's under all the moving averages now. This big red closing candle under the 50-day would be my exit if I was long this thing. Now, if I was long during the day, I would have fully accepted a reversal after earnings, but then it popped back up. So that would have been a wick and a spike through that 50. But the fact that it didn't spike, it closed on lows, that was ominous. And here we are 3 days later, and it's even worse. So that's why so often I will use the first closing candle under my key moving average. When I look back a week later, I'm like, boy, am I glad that I ripped the Band-Aid off there instead of talking myself into, let me go find some headlines that'll make me feel better about staying in this thing. That's probably the worst thing. I've done it. Let me go find some good positive. Let me go talk to some people who are in my echo chamber and make me feel good about this chart that's technically breaking down. For whatever reason, the euphoria back here has not followed through. I don't know why. Whereas Hood, seems to be doing a little better. Look at that. Here's a great example of it. Here's the pinch play I was talking about earlier. The two moving averages. The price bounces in between the two of them like a pinball, and whichever way it resolves is usually the direction you want to go with. Bulls trade of the week. Yeah, it was. And so is TMC, and I'm underwater in TMC. So it's been difficult. The trade of the week is a swing trade. And so we were just talking about pinch play scan. So if I don't have one saved, I might have another option. Let's see here. I think I do have one. I think I created one. Let's take a look at it. Look at that. At one point, I was so motivated to create the pinch play scan. And let's take a look at it. More importantly, let's look how it's built, especially for newer people. I don't like the way this TMC is doing this. It's bothering me. It really needs to reverse. Because if it closed right here, right now, I'd sell it. It's just like that other one. Closing on lows below key moving averages. So I'll let you guys know right now. If it looks like this at the end of the day, I'm out. All right. What are we scanning for? We've got obviously the 10 SMA 15, and we've got the 10S 50 SMA. And all I'm saying is be above this 10 SMA. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the daily, excuse me. And there it is. Here's the pinch. So it has to be below the 50, but above the 10. And rather close. So let's see what they give us for the most part. Zoom out a little bit more. Not bad. So what it's going to give us is stuff that's been bouncing up into the 50, but it's also coming up underneath. So this is not a bad looking play. Nothing on this screen says buy it right now. What it says is monitor me. Watch me. Okay, here's a really nice deep pullback on the daily chart. That's impressive. So maybe it pulls back here a little bit and you keep your eye on it. But what it's giving you, this scan is giving you price that's, pinballing between these two moving averages. And yes, I'll share it. All right, it's the same kind of a thing. There's nothing really special about any of them other than I think they need to be in an uptrend for the most part. And when you go through this scan, when I give it to you, you will see why, I use this waypoint as a guardrail. So that's one idea. Let me show you something else. And this is the add-on product, which is the anchored VWAP. So it's a supplemental program because it's licensed by Brian. That's one way to access it. I think I can get to it from here too. Yeah, I'm going to do it this way. It can also be accessed through the AVWAP pinch on the daily. Okay. So let me turn on anchored VWAP on the daily. Actually, that's why I had it the other way, because they were all drawn for me. Let's do back that. The reason that this is a valuable add-on subscription is that it has those scans. Anchored VWAP, daily pinch. Okay, so now I can draw dailies in here. So here's the concept. Brian Shannon wrote the book, the chapter on the two different, basically the low and the high, anchoring the low and anchoring the high. The value of this product is you don't have to draw it each time. It's drawn for you through the algorithm, and everything on this scan will be doing something in interest in relation to breaking out of a pinch play, which you can see that one doing there. So that's the concept. You can use anchored VWAP, or in the case of what we're using in the scan, we're just using these two, and I will share it right now. Talked about it. So here's the pinch play. 10 SMA and 50 SMA. All right. I'm going to close that. Let's check in on the one that's been doing the best for me here. I'm in just fun mode. I'm not really trying to set anything on fire here. Just trying to have a fun couple of trades in that one and in CRNC, which is a stock that Brian showed me. And then look, this is important here. Okay, so this is like a retest. Confirmation, it broke the immediate downtrend, came back and tested the confirmation, and now we're getting kind of a flattened and a curving 10 SMA. So if this can start to cradle the price for me, that's the kind of visual I'm looking for in a stock that's been oversold. So, and again, what am I going to do with this thing? I don't want to swing trade it. Well, if it works for me, I might just play a bounce, up into this area and see what I get by the end of the day and take it. All right, you're welcome, Mike. That TMC is really bugging me, and I can't stand getting out of these things midday. I like to see how they want to close. Whatever its peers doing. I don't even know half these companies. They're all down a little bit. They're all trying. See, again, I'm just going to suffer through whatever pullback it is. It's not a lot monetarily. I just can't stand the fact that it looks like it wants to go lower, but sometimes they fake you out like that. That's why, I'll give you a good example. That's why I don't look at this and go, I'd rather go eat a sandwich. I'm hungry. It's red. It's probably going to go to Lowe's. Screw it. Get me out. Oh, just like that. It triggered that price. Yeah, it's funny. It's doing it while I'm speaking it. Those are when it could turn around and reverse on you. And so, yeah, that's no fun. What are you guys gunning for? I see kind of a pivot line there at 505, which is still 5 cents away. You know, midday, 12:30, a spike to lows. I guess what I'm trying to say is I regret panicking out of something like this more often than I don't. And this is one of the hardest things about doing that, you know, pulling stop orders on the open or sitting through things like this midday, because this is often when they want to try and shake the trees. And then you come back and there's just one big giant wick. So, do I consider relative volume? I do, not on a trade like this. This is a pullback. I do back here on breakouts and things like that. MOBX has great relative volume. However, it's calculating basically all this recent stuff. So that's why it's such a high value of 12. You can see the S&P is making the fresh low here. Not fresh low, I'm sorry. 15-minute low. Testing its intraday trend. Oops. But again, I'm not doing a whole lot. I don't have a lot of faith, and I'm happy to hear a lot of you are feeling the same way. I think you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. It's just not much of an edge right now. What was strong the last few days, you know, was the gold miners, and they've given kind of a shallow pullback here. But I pull up CDE, and this thing just won't pull back. So MTC, the metals company, you know, is TMC, I should say, you know, it is kind of a function of that. Nickel, metal, copper, cobalt. You know, somebody was mentioned, don't lose sight of copper. FCX had a nice breakout and still is. That's the copper stock. TGB is a copper stock. Still looks pretty solid. So I'm a little perplexed by the deep pullback here of TMC. I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to give it to the end of the day. I'm going to see if this is the washout that the algorithms are trying to find a liquidity hunt for. Let's see, miss the CRCO. IPO. Yeah, pretty crazy. That was nutty, wasn't it? And it just goes to show you, once these things do their magic, it's like they're broken. Everybody was ready for round two right here. But ever since then, it's a widowmaker. Sometimes the worst thing that can happen is you make a big score and then you think this is the well that you're going to go to forever. You got to move on. And BMNR. Yeah, look at that. They just break. Same kind of a thing, huh? Euphoria. All right, 2.0. Let's try it again. Short-lived, and then it just breaks. And there are probably still people out there on social media pumping it, ignoring the fact that every time it tries to rally, it bumps up into where the sellers are, which is where you want to be a short seller, into the declining 5-day moving average, which is why I use it. And then just for good measure, just to prove that it's going lower, the 10 SMA catches it and says, no, we got you. You're going even lower. Those are my two indicators in action and how they work as the guardrails. Short on DKS. I don't know. Could be. So Yeah, I mean, it held its 200 day, but what's it bouncing? It's bouncing right into the armpit, as I call it, rolling over into the armpit. I mean, it's kind of visually self-explanatory. That's why I call it that. So I would say it's probably going to try and test 220, let it run through and spike. You get all the foam overs and the chasers, and then you watch for like a reversal wick. That's when you could probably pounce on something like that. But there's no guarantee that it's going to reverse and go lower because, that was a pretty solid level. But if you're going to give it a try, this is like the free look right there. This is my eyeballs. A free look right in the armpit. Oh, that was a big Ethereum play. That's why. Poor Kathy. She's always a day late and $1 short. She needs some new glasses. She needs some better computer glasses. All right, TMC, are you going to give me a little bit of relief? Maybe. I don't know. AIN. That's a stock you wanted to look at. One more. AIN. It's pretty thinly traded at 50,000 shares. It's not telling me much if that's the one. Oh, she was in early? Okay, good for her. I saw her take a drubbing 2 years ago on the small caps. Some stuff making 15-minute highs here. I don't know. UVS could easily turn around and just rip for the rest of the day and put a big wick in below the 50. If it does that, maybe it's got my attention. All right, you're welcome. Yeah, you can't go wrong, Mighty Mouse. Just like going to the long side, there's something about us human nature. We wait for the herd to feel safety. So if they're running towards something, we should run towards it too. Well, when they've been running 3 or 4 green candles in a row on the daily, if you initiate a new position, you're just asking to get trampled as the herd sees something and reverses course on you. What you've got to do is be that one animal in the herd that kind of notices, a meerkat that kind of notices something in the distance, and you're the first to take off, and the herd follows you. That's how you're a contrarian. So in doing so, you have to buy pullbacks after 2 or 3 days of vicious selling after a big run up. So all the people that chased that FOMO after 5 days learn a valuable, painful lesson, as you probably have had, but then you learn from mistakes, and then you wait and you start figuring out, how can I time these pullbacks? Like Brian says, don't buy the dip, buy the strength after the dip. So switch to the short side. That's what I said. You want to be in the armpit. You do not want to be short selling new lows. Like if somebody looked at UAVS here and said, oh, look at this, I'm going to short it. It just broke the 50. Well, probably a bad idea. It probably does want to bounce up here and get closer to this 5-day moving average that's starting to come into play. You want to be the person who's always fading the crowd, but you're doing so for a reason. You recognize the current is down, but you're not jumping in and chasing them. You're waiting for, to use a surfing analogy, for the set to roll in and then for the waters to calm, and then you kind of position yourself, and then you wait for the next set. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a great story there, but we'll see. We'll let the chart tell us on that UVS. Let's look at the others real quick. UMAC. I tell you what, for whatever reason, that ONDS seems to be the one. They seem to have the technology. Look at that beautiful pullback. We used that as an example this morning on the opening shakeout. UMAC holding its 200-day. RCAT doesn't look that great. There were some other ones. Can't recall. Seeing a lot of green come through my new 15-minute highs here. So we're getting some bounce in the market. I'm going to add to this CRNC because I think it's showing its true colors. I want to just kind of scalp a nice little move today. So, bam, I just added another third. And that was me. All right, market, just get me in. Once I've decided I want in, I'm not going to mess around with limit orders. Sorry, just catching up on some trade ideas, internal chats. So yeah, I just added to that CRNC. Maybe we get a little bounce. I'll just day trade that thing. It's just a pet stock. There's no reason. There's nothing that told me to buy it. It's just something that I watch. But it gave me the all clear signal when it broke above and then held my 10 SMA. How to create a scan, the strength after the run, pullback and showing strength. You've created an and or situation, and that's tough to do. We can create the situation, but that second part would require you to create a price alert. But I'll give you an example. So I've got a pullback to the 10 on the daily chart. Pull back to the 10 SMA on the daily. That's what we're looking for. So we're going to load that. Got a few names we can look at. That's not really my desire. Yeah, that's okay. So step one is we can give you the pullback, strong stocks that are pulling back, to a level that we want to see. Which, by the way, that reminds me, I need to turn the money machine. I need to check in on the money machine. That's the strategy I'm running. We'll get to that. But the point is that's what we can see. At this point, it's up to you, the trader, to come through these and go, okay, well, it pulled back to the 10 SMA after a good run. I'll take that 190. If that 190 clears, what I'm getting at is you've got to create part two with the price alert. And what that usually means is a bar reversal. So you're just kind of guessing down here. But if it takes out today's high after all this nice consolidation, after a good run up and testing the 10 SMA, that might be a nice trigger. So you can't do both in one scan is what I'm getting at. All right, let's check in on, we've only got 5 minutes here. So I've been running this money machine on the quote unquote volume pullbacks, which is essentially pullback to the 10 SMA. Look at that. That's my strategy. Some of the stuff we just looked at might even be in here. So I'm looking for strong stocks that have pulled back to the 10, and this is what the money machine has been buying for me. Interesting. I'd like to see those pullbacks. It's buying the 15 minute is the pullback. So strong stocks buying the pullback on the intraday 10 SMA there. So then I quickly look at the intraday. It's not bad. I can simulate a tighter strategy there. Stop. Okay, so those are in the green. But here's where it gets interesting. So by the way, this is just a few days away. I know. I think we're getting the release today internally to test it. But if I uncheck hide zero, it shows everything that's been traded. What does that show us? Shows us the true colors. Hey, not bad, huh? True colors of this strategy. I want you to disregard this. This is a bug because that obviously does not equal that. I'm not sure what that trade was. Maybe it does. But we're working on the P&L, which will be fixed in the new version. But for the most part, I let this thing run. I turned my back on it for a couple hours, and that's what it came up with. Some winners and a couple losers. Now, let me look at this loser and see what this is that maybe I could do differently. Boy, I don't know what I could have done differently. That was just a nasty, nasty trade. So it was a full stop out. I'm not sure why I got such a bad fill, but that was the worst of the worst. Anyway, all right, guys, it's Thursday. I've got some stuff to bring up at the meeting here in 5 minutes. I don't have Barry to hand it off to this time, but Maybe we'll continue that next week if it gets a new computer. Other than that, looks like we caught up on questions, but thanks. I'm going to grab a drink and a break before my next meeting. I'll see you guys maybe Tuesday. If not, it might be Andy. I don't know. But until then, you pretty much always got me on Thursday. Let's check in on my medals. That's what we want to see. We'll end on a good note. See, this would be like where I was mad, I was hungry and hangry and pounded out right there because I didn't like that red candle. You come back only to see that green candle and you go, why the hell did I get out of that emotionally midday? Supposed to wait for the end of the day. So that's how I'm handling that trade. And the CRNC that I bought more of, how's that looking? These are just short-term ideas, except for that one. Hanging in there. Okay, I got to go. Upstart. It's trying. Looks good. 3 days of selling is wonderful. I love 3 days of hardcore selling. And then you break that intraday. It's looking like what my CRNC is doing. That looks good. And then look how nice Trade Ideas, the new version is. Look how nice we are. We give you the target. And so there's a clean road all the way up to that R if you're going to day trade something like that. All right, guys, on that note, I got to run. See you later. I'm going to end the stream. Bye-bye.